Let me get myself properly, it's the wrong button, properly situated for a stream from the phone. We're going to hope it goes live properly. If you're watching this in the archive, what's good, what's up, what's going on? Justin Lowe in the building, hopping over here into the live thing here, turning that on mute. And now I can see what's going on here. Hiei Funakoshi was cracking mang. Daddy-o. Tim Butler, Bryce Power over here murderizing the chat early on here. Wolf's Gaming. Andrew. What's good, man? Gonna get my volume levels adjusted here. TJ. Alright. What's cracking, guys? What's going on? We have the chamber here starting in about a half an hour. Or at least the kickoff is in about a half an hour. What's going on, Steven? It has been a lazy Sunday. A very lazy Sunday, and I love them lazy Sundays. So, didn't do a whole lot today. I finished Ys 9, so that's back on the shelf now. I finished it. 30 hours. I'm done with Ys 9. Just in time for Persona 5 Strikers, which is out this week. We'll see when GameFly gets it here, but not Amazon. I bought it. Not GameFly for once. Amazon. I doubt they'll even bother to replace Keith Lee. I doubt it. I mean, they could, but to me, it sounds like, all right, we're gonna have another Lashley and Matt Riddle one-on-one, and at that point, guess who wins? The Hurt Beardness. Once again, Ed Kane in the building. Yeah, if Owens wins the Chamber, I mean, look, on the SmackDown side, it don't matter who wins the Chamber, because Roman is gonna beat them. Like, that match is kind of inconsequential to me anyway. I'm sure it'll be good, a good match, but yeah, like, we know that the writing there is on the wall. The writing on the wall. That's just Roman, at the end of the night, still Universal Champion. I mean, yeah, it still says triple threat, but it also still says that we're going to have Asuka and Lacey, and she's pregnant. We're not going to have Asuka and Lacey. Like, come on. It's always the same business, and at this point you should know it by heart. Card subject to change. That is the deal. I don't see Roman losing before Mania. I just don't see it happening. I'm not gonna say it can't happen because obviously it's WWE and anything can happen, but yeah, that one. Don't see it. I also don't see Drew losing before Mania. So, I'm just not seeing it happening. Like, those are going to be the big money matches. And hey, you could see a shocking return of Brock Lesnar. It could happen because we're heading towards Mania with fans. And when there are fans in the building, when there are paying customers in the building, then the Lesnar could be lurking in the shadows to avenge his loss at last year's WrestleMania. So yeah. The problem with having the Chamber like in between the Rumble and Mania is it ends up being very predictable. Unless you have the Chamber as, all right, win the Chamber to go to the main event of Mania, then that makes sense. But when you have your champion in the Chamber, usually the past I don't know how many years, they retain outside of Bray Wyatt. Bray Wyatt broke that curse. He beat it was Cena and somebody else, but John Cena was champion going into the Chamber. Bray Wyatt beat him, and Randy Orton had won Mania, and we were going to get Bray and Randy at Mania somehow, so that made sense. But at the same time, usually, nah. Like, the champion retains. At any other time of the year, sure, it makes sense, right? But, having it in between, on the road to WrestleMania, the problem is that usually your champion is going to retain because it makes more sense to book your thing towards Mania and not change the champion in fucking February. That's all I'm saying to you. Like, you don't usually do that. Don't make a lot of sense. So, we'll see, though. We'll see. Yeah, I mean, you could definitely book Brock on the Raw after Mania. That's definitely a thing you could do. But the thing is, the Raw after Mania, you're not going to have any fans in the building. You're back in the Thunderdome. So, I think Brock, they got lucky that last year he was the champion. So, he had to show up, and he had to be there for Mania and lose in 5 minutes, right? And then Big Show for some fucking reason. I don't know. That was baffling, right? But this year's Mania is going to have fans in attendance, whereas the Raw afterwards, probably not. I mean, look, I'm not going to say that it 100% won't, but probably I doubt they have Raw in Raymond James Stadium. But we'll see. We'll see. Now, as far as who's going to win that SmackDown chamber, I'm calling for Cesaro. But I'd say your 3 favorites would be Cesaro, Owens, but sure, and Bryan. And because you don't have fans to complain about it, then you could do Bryan and have him lose immediately to Roman, and they wouldn't complain that he's not going to Mania because there's no fans in the fucking building right now. So, you could do that. You could easily avoid having to deal with the uprising of fans being mad about Bryan not getting that shot at Mania because there aren't any fans, and they control the audio in the Thunderdome, so they can easily have people cheer or boo whenever. But Cesaro getting his new contract push here, so I'm calling for Cesaro. But hey, yeah, there's no way they're gonna have Lacey book a match. Like, it could be an Eva Marie thing where they pretend and then don't do it at the last minute, but she's not working a match. So, is it gonna be Peyton Royce? Is it gonna be the Queen? Like, other Raw options? Alexa Bliss? I don't know. When do I think The Fiend will return? I thought the Rumble, and it didn't fucking happen. So, I don't know anymore when we're going to have back The Fiend. But if he comes back and he's not in some kind of an alternate, different, like, newer costume, then what was the point of burning him alive? Like, that to me seemed like the whole point of that was, all right, we have new merch to sell you. We have new Fiend merch with a new Fiend design to sell you, and therefore we burned the old Fiend alive to make that new merch, new mask, something, right? But it's been interesting to have him off TV this long. See, I don't know that they would. I'm not sure that they would save it until the big show, until Mania, because like you need to have the match booked. I mean, okay, you don't, because John Cena fought Taker for a minute and a half, and that match was not booked for WrestleMania, so you don't need to have a match booked. But generally, for your marketing, you want to have the match booked at least a few weeks beforehand, and not do it the absolute like day of the show, last minute stuff. Pre-show starts in about a half an hour, so at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is Yonder pre-show. When does Ronda Rousey return? I think only she knows. If ever. I don't know. Because she was like, oh, I'm gonna start a family. I'm like, all right, well, did that not work for her? Or, look, I'm not gonna get into her personal business, so, but, I don't know, man. Like, some folks can make a lot of money and then live very simply and not need additional millions and millions and millions. Like, if you already have, like, 20, 30 million and you want to just chill, you can just chill. Like, just buy an average house in an average neighborhood and you can just chill the rest of your life and not need any more money. But if you want that fame and fortune, well, that's a different kind of bug that bites some folks. So, you know, there is that. As far as the return of Braun Strowman, he was on SmackDown. No, Raw. I'm sorry, he was on Raw this week saying, hey, Shane McMahon. So I'm guessing it's going to be Braun and Shane for some fucking reason at Mania. I don't know why. That seems the most logical thing there. So that's possible. Man, I miss the old chamber that had the metal grates that they could just pop out of. Now it's all just like pads there. So it's not as effective to, you know, have a surprise in the chamber. But I still think if they don't have the Ali thing, if Ali and his group does not attack Kofi and steal his spot in the chamber, what the fuck are you doing? Bruh. Like, that's like the most common sense setup is that, yeah, Ali got hurt and that put Kofi in that spot 2 years ago. So, and that was not in the chamber, that was in the gauntlet. But that led to the chamber, and they put him in that because of what happened in the gauntlet. So, you know. We have a Pixels of Royal Rumble on the Dreamcast. That is on the channel. Go peep that video, would ya? We did that. That game's interesting. It's not good, it's interesting. But it was an arcade game, so it's kind of, you know. Was the Otis thing on SmackDown a heel turn? Like, was that Otis and Gable being heel now? Because if that's the case, where does that leave Bryan, who was in the Gable Academy? Like, what does that do for... I don't know, man. It's interesting. Like, sure, I wouldn't mind an Otis heel turn. That's not the worst thing in the world. But, like, do you actually build upon it in a meaningful way, or do you fuck it up like you fuck everything else up? But hey, SmackDown generally has been doing pretty good. So, honestly, it's a much more SmackDown is a much more easy show to watch than the slog that is 3 hours of Raw every goddamn Monday, which is just like, it's so long and so not very good. So, I feel like Miz will cash in at Mania because generally you want that crowd reaction for a cash in. Whether or not it is successful or fails, you want a crowd reaction, and Mania gonna have a crowd. So why even bother to cash in when you know you're gonna have a crowd on either night 1 or night 2 of WrestleMania? Now, as far as who gets cashed in on, that, you know, whatever. But cashing in before then with no crowd, like last time, was just like, yeah, he cashed in, big whoop. There's no live reaction. And you want that audience live reaction to a cash-in. That's a lot of the appeal. Which is why we had the Rumble with no crowd. And that was just weird, man. You didn't have that live crowd, like, organic reaction. You had, you know, your little audio things. That's not the same. Not the same. Who would win in Test versus Kevin Nash? Never bet against Big Sexy. So, just saying. Don't do it. Don't do it. So, yeah. Big E's gonna be a face, man. He's like one of the big faces there on SmackDown. Apollo definitely went all the way in that heel turn. It took some time. They had Apollo at the learning tree of the big dog backstage like weeks ago, and finally he's down his killer edge there on SmackDown. So it's weird that you potentially had a Apollo and Otis heel turn on the same episode. Usually that kind of is not on the, you know, spread it out a little bit, right? But we'll see. We'll see. See, the thing is that tonight, it doesn't particularly matter who wins the chamber on SmackDown. So it could be Owens again. Like, that's not going to be a long match. It can't be. Because you've already spent a half an hour in the chamber, and then you fight the head of the table. Come on. That's light work for Big Roman. It's light work. Yes, I certainly expect a Figure Poke of Doom, hey, lay down, if for some reason that Uso wins in the chamber. I don't see it happening, but if it does, it's going to be like, look, Us, do the right thing. Lay down. And that's going to be that, more or less. They already spent enough time on those two and their family issues that now Jay has fallen in line, and he acknowledges the tribal chief. So, man, oh man, what are we at here? All right, 5:43. What's going on, Jack? I mean, the problem is that you really don't have anybody, at least not until you had Edge come back. Like, when you think about it, all right, you've established Roman Reigns as like the big bad mob boss of SmackDown, right? And he's been a top guy for so long. But you did your draft, you did, your brand split, and you look at the top faces on SmackDown that could conceivably go up against Roman and look, like it's going to be an actual match and not just a straight up squash, like on that level, right? And you've done Owens, and you haven't done Daniel Bryan, and like the other top guys like Seth are heels, right? So it's like, well, who else is in that spot besides Edge? So I think that makes the most sense, I guess. But like, just main event level talent that are being pushed like main event level talent on SmackDown that's a face that could fight a heel, like, you don't have a whole lot there. It's kind of thin at the top there. The air is thin, as they say. You think Nia and you think Nia and Shayna will lose to Bianca and Sasha? Bruh. What's going on, Justin? When you have the intangibles of Reginald and Mella in the background somewhere, then you would think that no, they're not gonna win those belts because there are other things at play there. And even without having to have Bianca or Sasha get pinned, and you don't want them to get pinned this close to Mania, you have DQ finishes, you have count-out finishes, you have my whole... Like, there are ways to finagle that tag match to not have them get pinned, but still have those belts get retained, I do believe. What's going on? Dragon Knight. You got a fucking quarantine? That sucks ass, man. That sucks. As far as Eli Drake, aka LA Knight, sure. Why not? Should be interesting to see how they place him in NXT. Considering that, like, they just called up Damian Priest, and they supposedly just called up Rhea. Although they don't know what branch it's going to be on yet, apparently. So that's weird. But yeah, like, it has been kind of thin lately on NXT call-ups. So when you keep adding and signing and adding and signing and adding and signing to the NXT brand, even with a 2-hour show every week now, it does get a bit bloated. You got to have some more main roster call-ups. The problem is that a lot of the times lately, they have these call-ups and they don't have a plan in place. And when you don't have a story, like, ready to go for a guy to get called up, then you end up with an EC3 situation, and you have no fucking idea what to do with that talent that you brought up from NXT, who had a buzz, now you just totally squander it. Totally. But yes, I could certainly see once Adam Cole finishes this current feud, and then after Mania, that's kind of your Raw after Mania call-up, Adam Cole. Makes sense to me. But again, like, he's done everything in NXT. He's done everything twice. So, I mean, I'm not saying that they're gonna treat him any better, main roster. But at a certain point, like, what can you do? What can you do? So, where is Aleister Black? Missing in action. Like, seriously. Not as bad as Bo Dallas, but still. Like, missing in action just a little bit. Bo is sitting at home. Like, legit, just not even getting called up to go sit in catering. He is sitting at home. Making money, and I can't argue, but, like, you have to believe, man. You just have to believe. But yeah, I mean, there's certainly an argument between someone like Adam Cole, like, staying in NXT versus perhaps going to Raw and getting totally, like, you know, book on Raw, because that's not the best thing in the world. But yeah, the thing is, like, that's one of the guys that I want to see fight Edge. Like, there are so many guys that Edge has never fought that I want to see fight Edge, like AJ Styles, like Adam Cole, you know? So, it's interesting. But whether or not they actually follow through on any of that is going to be interesting. But yeah, we got another, what, like 10-ish minutes here before the pre-show starts. So we're getting there. We're getting there. You can't book Roman and Seth when they're both heels. Yeah, I mean, you can, but historically, when you book a heel versus heel match, it's not a good match. Like, and at that point, right, if you're booking heel versus heel now in the Dome, in the Thunderdome, then you can control who gets cheered and booed because you have the little knobs in the back doing that bullshit, right? But Mania gonna have an actual crowd, so they say, right? You're gonna be in Raymond James Stadium, so they say. So booking heel versus heel in front of an actual crowd typically does not work because the fans don't know who to cheer for because they're both heels, and you want to have somebody get, you know, you need to have your heat spots, you know, you need to have your comebacks, and if you're both heels, then it's like, fuck them both, right? Go back and watch Brock Lesnar and Goldberg, WrestleMania, was that 21? 22? When we knew that both Brock and Goldberg were leaving. At that point, in the fans' eyes, they were both heels, and that match got shit all over. And that was fucking hilarious. My opinion on EA buying Codemasters is that they're going to get stuck working on Need for Speed, and those games are still not going to be any good. So they just keep on buying studios to make people work on Need for Speed, and there hasn't been a good one of those since Hot Pursuit. So, you know, what's going on, Dankness? What's cracking, man? Mania 20, thanks. Because at this point, it's all a fucking blur, man. There are so many Manias, it's just all a blur. Yes, I watched the new Direct. I did. I'm wondering, where is my release date for Shin Megami Tensei 3 Remaster? Spring, right? What the fuck is it? Like, how did that not get a release date there in that Direct? I don't understand. That's a little baffling. As far as getting hurt in the chamber, like, it's not as dangerous as it used to be. Like, you don't have the solid steel now on the outside. It's fucking padding. So it's not nearly as rough on the body than it used to be. So, like, yeah, look, you can always get hurt anywhere, anytime, but it's less dangerous than it was at this point. As far as when the Xbox will stop being rare, like the new Xbox, and being hard to find, look, man, there is a global shortage of silicon for everything, for everybody. So everything's fucked, man. So I don't have an answer for that. Like, everything's fucked. As far as O'Reilly, that was not a legit seizure. That was kayfabe, man. It was a kayfabe injury type deal. They played it up. He's very good at that, but no, he's not hurt for real. That was a brain buster on the steel. Yeah, it sucks, but he's fine. I'm pretty sure. But because you believed it, they gotcha. They gotcha. That's how that works. As far as the AEW casino game, they have 2 weeks. From what Kenny said, they have 2 weeks in that 60-day window. 2 weeks. So I would hope soon, but video games are hard to make, man. So it could get delayed. It could. We'll see. My thoughts on the exploding barbed wire death match is that I can understand having the nostalgia for the tape trading days of the 90s and all that FMW, Terry Funk, like Onita. Like, I get it, but those matches were never really that good. So we'll see how it holds up in the modern day era of that kind of match, because they're just generally like, you're just waiting on that spot, you know? You're waiting on that big spot, and that doesn't make for a big. That doesn't always make for a good match, particularly. So yeah, it'll be interesting to have it on a major pay-per-view in this country in this calendar year. Cool. But I don't have that real, like, oh my god, gotta have that crazy ass thing. Because, like, yeah, like, back in the 90s, you were kind of pushing the limit on what you could do with that kind of violence. Like, I get it. But the actual, like, when it comes to things like modern day CZW, it's not my cup of tea for what I want to watch in wrestling. All the blood and guts, that kind of stuff. Like, it's fine. It has its place, but it's not necessarily my preference, which is okay, because there's all kinds of wrestling for all kinds of folks, and thankfully we're in an era now where, like, the internet is so everywhere that you can get any kind of wrestling that you want to watch, which is awesome. So good stuff. All right, it says Keith Lee is out, and they're going to qualify on the pre-show. Who's qualifying? What's the... Let me check the Twitter here. What does it say on the WWE? Oh, that was too many fucking W's. That was too many W's. Didn't mean to do that. Watch along. Cesaro's t-shirt. They say who's actually in the... Alright. Morrison, Ali, Ricochet, Elias are in the match to see who is the third man in that. Look, I told you before, if you don't have Ali go after Kofi and steal his fucking spot in the pod, what are you doing? Continuity. Ass. The hell? Like, seriously. That makes all the sense in the world that Ali's in the Kofi feud, that he should be attacking Kofi to get in the chamber, or at least trying to attack Kofi to get in the chamber to have his revenge for 2 years ago. Like, come on. I don't know, man. It's interesting. As far as this year's game being on PS5, that's debatable, because last year they said it was not planned for that for this year. So that's going to be, all right. The PS5 is pretty good. I like it a lot. And honestly, one of the things that I like right now the most, considering there's not that many games coming out, is that being able to play games from PS4 on the PS5 without it sounding like a fucking jet engine is awesome. Because, man, playing Neo on my PS4, that thing was like taking off, like man, it's bad. I'm like, it's gonna die. So having that now on PS5 be nice and quiet is great. I love it. It's been an okay day today. It's been okay. It has been a relaxing Sunday. I finished Ys 9 this morning. So, and I finished Little Nightmares 2. Not yesterday, the day before. I'm getting games finished. Can't wait. No spam in the chat. No spam in the chat. Don't spam the chat. My thoughts on the Diablo 2 remaster is going to be, will you be able to player kill the way you could in the original Diablo 2? Because it was rampant back in the day in the multiplayer. It was certainly something back then. So, you know. What I want in a new WWE game is for it to be good. I just want the core gameplay. Like everything else, if the core gameplay is fun, then I can make good videos, I guess. But like, you know, having 1,000 match types is whatever if the core gameplay is ass. If the core game is broken and buggy and bullshit, then, you know, it's the fucking point, man. So, if they can nail the core gameplay and then build on everything else, then I'll be happy. But again, we'll see. Anyhow, that was my pre-Rumble chat, because it is time for the kickoff show to begin on the Chamber. So I will see you guys back here tomorrow for some more Wrestling Empire on the show. So, I'll see you then. I'll see you here. Thanks for hanging out. Gonna hit the X button here, and I am out.